Yep, it's disgusting. Ugh. Hey everyone. So I thought I would do a little bit of a tour today, kind of a short tour and more of a focus tour because I thought, so much of the garden tours that I've done is just to show you, oh, look how pretty, look how things are growing. But I've made a lot of mistakes this year as a gardener, so I kind of want to go through, as I show you the pretty stuff, also show you some of the ways in which I have messed up as a gardener. And I think mostly because gardening has taught me to not be such a control freak, and I know that'll come as a surprise to my friends and family that I am a control freak, but I am. And gardening has really taught me to try to let go of that and control what I can and understand what I can't. So anyway, we'll do a quick tour. I'm titling this video The Good, the Bad, and the Disgusting, and you'll see why. You've already seen the murder beetle bucket that we have, which is a bucket that we use to pick off the Japanese beetles. Blair is really consistent about going down to the garden a couple of times a day to pick off Japanese beetles and throw them in the murder bucket. And we have found that even though this is disgusting, it is the most effective way to kind of keep that population under control. You're never going to eliminate them, no matter what people say. You can't eliminate them, but this has helped to keep them under control. So I wanted to show you that's one of the things that we're doing. And but we've also had just some weird pest issues and some environmental issues, too much rain, too much humidity that has kind of wreaked havoc in the garden. So I'll show you some of that as we go. But anyway, let's get started. It is really humid today, not as humid as it's going to get. So this is our most mature peach tree, and you can see there's white. I've got that white stuff all over it. That's diatomaceous earth. The Japanese beetles will eat our fruit trees to nothing if we don't do something to control it. And diatomaceous earth is the least invasive way, non-toxic way to control them, besides just picking them off, which you're just never going to get them all. But it has enabled us to at least get a few peaches, which I'm going to be harvesting today. So we get a few of those. We have our younger peach trees here, also diatomaceous earth. The problem with diatomaceous earth, it's great, but the problem is that anytime it rains, you have to come out and reapply, and it has been a very rainy summer. I know my family in the Pacific Northwest would love to have some of that rain come to them, but this is what we've got. And so they're doing okay. The peach trees are actually doing okay with the diatomaceous earth and the very consistent picking of beetles. So the one real problem area this year has been the pumpkin patch, and this is where I have made a mistake as a gardener. I really had no experience with squash beetles, and I know I'm really lucky as a gardener to not have had any experience with that. But you can see just the damage from squash beetles. And look at those disgusting creatures. And I went through yesterday until I just was completely worn out, leaf by leaf, squishing eggs, because that is one surefire way to keep those eggs from hatching. But you can see there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leaves here, and I could not get them all. So I did, affect quite the massacre, which made me kind of unreasonably happy. But there's still a mess. We are going to get some squash. We'll get pumpkins. I don't know if we're going to get any summer squash. We might get, I don't even know if we're going to get, you can see there's a little butternut squash there. That looks like it's a little stressed. We might get butternut squash, but the Japanese, or the squash beetles have just been, they've completely invaded everything here. Some varieties they like more than others, which means we will get some pumpkins, and thankfully we don't need that many pumpkins. It's just I wanted this to be the sincerest pumpkin patch, and it is sincerely gross this year. So diatomaceous earth, that helps with the adults but doesn't do anything about the eggs. So what you can squish them, and what we're going to try to do in the next couple of days is get out here, lift each of these vines and spray them really good with a neem oil concoction, which should also help to knock back the eggs. But so I mean by control, you can only control so much. The mistake I made was not getting on this immediately, and that's because I just didn't have experience with squash bugs. So anyway, live and learn. Next year it will be different. I'll be Johnny on the spot, and I will be murdering squash bugs as the plants grow, and that really helps. The good thing is that we do have a pumpkin volunteering in the garden, which is doing really well, so I think it must be one of those varieties that's resistant to pests. It's getting a few, but nothing like the ones in the pumpkin patch. I just have to show you this entrance. I love it so much. The clematis is still blooming. Oh, but that volunteer sunflower, every time I come in here, it just makes me happy. It's so pretty. Okay, things are getting a little wild out here. It's that time of year when the garden starts to get away from me a bit. It's just really hard to keep it in check, and this year with it being so wet, the tomatoes have really been stressed. We'll still get more than we could possibly use, but it is still, they're really stressed. But there's still these moments of gorgeousness, like, oh, these coneflowers are echinacea. Came back from last year. They never got anywhere near this big last year because there were volunteer tomatoes here that choked them out, but they came up this year. And I'll come out here sometimes in the morning and there will be, you know, 2-3 bees on each one of these flowers. So the coneflowers love, or the bees love echinacea. There's one right there. Look at that happy guy. So we are happy, and we are actually expanding, multiplying how much echinacea we grow this year because the pollinators love it so much. The zinnias, awesome. I think that Japanese beetle, they don't actually eat the zinnias, but they like to hide in the zinnias, and then I like to find them and kill them. Here's the butterfly garden. Oh, lush, gorgeous. Oh, guess what? You're getting to see a monarch. I hope that if Michael or Jessica watch this, they'll show this to Chloe, because she will love this. She came down into this garden so many times when she was visiting Chloe, my niece, and was looking for butterflies, and she was keeping a watchful eye on some swallowtail caterpillars, but oh, the monarch. How pretty. So the monarch, as you can see there, is on some milkweed that I grew this year. Oh man, that site right there makes it worth all of the toil to put in this garden. I'm going to leave her alone so she can do her thing. But I love this little space. We've got butterfly weed, again, that I started. That's all that little tiny orange flowers. Oh man, I'm so happy to see that monarch. I could just stand here for hours and watch her, but I'll leave her alone. Oh. So here's the volunteer pumpkin. Look at this thing. I mean, it's just huge. And this was the potato patch. We harvested the potatoes and found this little vine after we harvested. And so we just let it go. Wasn't quite sure what it was, but I am seeing some fruit develop on it. So it is a pumpkin of some variety. I don't know what. And it's just enormous, but there's the little pumpkin that's growing. It might be a white pumpkin. I really don't know. It has to get a lot bigger, but I have been watching for squash beetles. I squished a whole bunch of eggs yesterday on it, and I really did go leaf by leaf and squished eggs. But it does seem to be more resistant, which is good. Nothing, I think, is entirely resistant, but yeah. Sunflower, I'm loving this. So some of the things that just did not do well this year for us, and I'm trying to figure out why in some cases, but the cucumbers just really just didn't do well. And I think, I mean, it could be that there's some squash beetles, although I haven't really seen a sign of infestation here. I think that what it is it's just been too humid and hot. So cucumbers are struggling, but I had problems with germination, so I can't even explain that. Oh, my petunias are happy. This Tamarillo is growing in leaps and bounds. I think I'm actually going to try harvesting some of the fruit this year. I grow Tamarillos because they're beautiful, but the fruit, if you treat it right, can be really tasty too. Melons, nope, just wasn't happening this year for melons. And again, like the cucumbers, I have problems with it just germinating. It's very frustrating, but it is, again, something I can't control, so back to the drawing board. Check out these little sunflowers. I planted a bunch of little dwarfs in here. Oh, they're so pretty. I think these are the teddy bear sunflowers. And then we've got the big tall ones. So the butterflies will be loving on these shortly. The butterflies love sunflowers. Then got another volunteer cucumber, I think, here, but I haven't seen any fruit on it. It's not a squash, so I think it is a cucumber, but so far no fruit has shown itself. And it's another Tamarillo growing here. Okay, so let's take a look at another thing that's kind of driving me crazy this year, and that's tomatoes. Yeah, everyone who knows us knows that we grow a lot of tomatoes. We do. This year we ended up with, I think, about 75 tomatoes, 76, something like that. But I ended up I have pulled so far at least 15 plants that were sick and dying, and some that still are. So what I do, like this one right here, I just think I have to pull this plant. It's got some green tomatoes on it, and so I'll take those inside and ripen them on the counter. This Dr. Weishi. It doesn't seem to matter about variety either, so I know that soil health is something we continue to work on, but it's also, I think, it has been so rainy and humid, and tomatoes just can only take so much of that. It is upsetting to see some of these just not doing well. I look to the new growth up on top, and if that is doing okay, then I'll leave the plant. I'll just pull off some of the sick and dead stuff and leave the plant. But we have already pulled, I don't know, probably all told about 50 pounds of tomatoes. And I got a lot more I need to get. Ooh, wow, look at these monsters. They're huge. So I'll be picking more and canning more. This is the season. So this right here, we have calendula coming up. It's a little wild. And over here is the echinacea. So I planted this. So this is what I meant, that we're going to be expanding the echinacea because it's so amazing. So we've got, you can see here, these are the Japanese noodle beans, and about ready to harvest. They're coming really close. One change we're making next year, this is one of our 2 strawberry beds, this one right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to dig this one up and the other one, and we're going to put it in a new bed that we have established. It's a nice long bed. So this will be dedicated to strawberries. And then this bed is going to be zinnias, because I've discovered I love growing zinnias more than almost anything. So we're going to be really going on the zinnias. So one more thing I want to show you on this short tour. This is the garlic bed. We've harvested the garlic, so Blair's just been amending the soil by throwing grass in it. But we'll be adding some compost and stuff to it as well. So the bean, we're really starting to take off now. These had a little bit of a slower start because the rabbits kept on eating our new seedlings. So we had to replant several times. And now they're starting to come in. So this is the rattlesnake bean. The beans, unfortunately, especially the green variety, Japanese beetles love them, so this is something that Blair's been like concentrating when he comes out the murder kill bucket to get Japanese beetles here. Oh, there is one more thing I have to show you, because this is the thing I'm probably the happiest about this year with the garden. I say that, but I'm kind of happy about everything except for the sick plants. But we've had the saga of the corn, that it has been really hard to get any corn. In fact, we haven't gotten any of our sweet corn for a couple of years because raccoons, possums, squirrels, whoever have eaten everything as they've already. So they, like last year, they took out our entire corn crop. But what we did this year, we went ahead and invested in some, as you can see, these yellow ribbons here. This is electric wire. It's solar powered. So we surrounded the garden with, or this bed, with 2 layers of electric fencing, basically. And our corn has been left alone. So we are going to get our own sweet corn this year, which is pretty damn exciting. So we had agreed that if we didn't get any sweet corn this year, we weren't going to grow it again. But it does look to me like we're going to get some. By now, if we weren't going to get any, or the raccoons, if they could get through the electric fence, they would have, because this is about the time last year that they took out the entire bed. But it looks like we're safe. So next year, we're going to Blair wants to surround the entire garden in this. Put some chicken wire fencing about a foot and a half from the ground, and then top that with some electric wire that will hopefully keep the rabbits out, and then we won't have to make the place look quite so much like a compound with rabbit fencing all over. Like I said, I only had one more thing to show you, but I do want to show you the asparagus bed, because look at that. Again, no idea what to expect. I've never grown asparagus. I don't know what the plant looks like as it matures. So this is an absolute learning process. It's pretty dang exciting though to see this happen. So there you have it, kind of a short tour today, but I have like a lot of harvesting to do, and I have still have some canning inside that I need to do. But I wanted to show, as I said, the good, the bad, the ugly, the disgusting. But you know, that is what it is to be a gardener. Everyone who's gardened knows this, that yeah, it's beautiful when it grows and it's wonderful, but there are always challenges. And the garden has been a particular challenge this year. But there's always next year. That's what I love about gardens, is that every year you get to start over and clean slate, do it all again, and do it better, hopefully. So have a great day, everybody. Looking forward to talking with friends and family soon, now that our pandemic is somewhat over, not completely at all, but somewhat, and we're able to start gathering with friends again. So can't wait to see everybody. Bye.